Hi guys, today's class started with a Jamboard review over Unit 2 and we talked about writing equations. Okay, so if you go to week 8 and open up 10.5 or 10.6 depending on whether you're A day or B day. So the Jamboard starts off by reminding us that we need the M and the B in order to write equations. Okay, so what we did first was we wrote what M stood for. Okay, and we remember that M stands for slope, right? So M stands for the slope of the line, right? So go ahead and put slope on yours. Okay, and then B stands for the y-intercept, right? So it's where my line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so in order to write equations, I need to have those two before I can write them. So remember, our goal when we are writing equations is to put our equation in this format, right? Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we should be able to write equations from a table and from a graph. Okay. All right, so our first example, we're going to do two different examples together. Our first example is going to be from a table. Okay, I messed up and I forgot to put these numbers in down here on the Y. So I'm going to, if you pause, right? No, you don't need to pause. I'm going to pause and put them real quick, and when I come back on, they'll be there, okay? Okay, so these are the numbers that I want for my Y column. Okay, so right here I numbered the steps for you. Okay, on your next slides, they're not going to be numbered, right? The ones that you have to do on your own, but you can always come back to this slide and see what the steps are to remind yourself as you practice, okay? So your first step when you have a table and you're writing equations is to find your B. Remember, we don't have to work anything out when we're finding our B, okay? If we automatically find the 0 on the X column, right? So if I automatically find a 0, whatever number is with it is my B, right? So if you have 0 as your X, 2 is your B. So under the spot or next to the spot where it says B equals, I'm going to say 2. Okay, my next step is to find my changes, right? My change in Y and my change in X. So this is where we draw those alligator mouths, right? We find the crocodile mouths. Okay. Right, so if I'm going from 0 to 2, I know I have to be adding 2, right? 2 plus 2 gives me 4. 4 plus 2 gives me 6, right? So I know that my change in Y is by plus 2. So I'm going to put 2 on the top of my fraction because Y goes on top. Okay, now I'm going to find my change in X. I know that this one is changing by plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 0 plus 1 is 1, right? Okay, so I'm going to put a positive 1 on the bottom. If I simplify this fraction, right, my slope is going to simplify to be 2 because 2 divided by 1 just gives me a positive 2. Okay, so now look, we've got M, we've got B. We should be able to plug those two back into our equation, right? Remember, our equation is Y equals MX plus B. Okay, so if I'm going to plug them back in, Y equals, my M was 2, so 2X plus, my B was 2, so I'm done writing my equation. That was my goal. Okay, so slide 4, right? Now we're given a graph. So remember, our goal is to write an equation, right? Finding m and b from the graph so that we're able to input it into the format of the equation, y equals mx plus b. Okay, so remember, first step, find your b. You don't have to do any work to find the b. We go look at the y-axis and we see where it's crossing, right, where it's touching. So my b is right here at positive 1. So my b is equal to 1, right? Okay, so I'm going to do my rise over run triangle. Okay, I can use any 2 points that I want, right? I'm going to go ahead and use this one right here, -1, -1. So if I rise, right, because it's positive, I'm rising, and then I'm running to get to my next point. Remember, you can do it anywhere you want on the graph between 2 points, and you want the closest two, right? Because I can do from this one all the way to this one, but that's too big, and then I'm going to have to simplify a lot. So I can do rise and run, rise and run. So we count our arches, 1, 2. My run is 1. So if I set that up as a fraction, 2 over 1, 2 divided by 1 gives me 2, right? So here's my m, here's my b. We should be able to plug those two back into our equation. Y equals, instead of m, I'm going to say 2x plus 1. The rest of the class time before we got our exit ticket was spent practicing, right? So there's 1, 2, 3 slides that involve tables, and then there are 1, 2, 3 slides that involve graphs. So go ahead and finish those, practice those, and then you can join the Pear Deck that is linked as an exit ticket in Google Classroom. Okay, so your exit ticket right here is posted under week 8. If you click on that, it takes you to a Pear Deck to be joined. Okay, once you get into that Pear Deck, it is 1 slide. There are 2 questions for you to answer. Okay, and I'll show you in just a minute. 2 questions for you to answer, multiple choice, and you can write on the screen. Okay. Okay, so once you click on the Pear Deck, it asks you how you're feeling. Okay, and then let me see. Sorry, that was my work from last class. So once you get here into the Pear Deck, here's your 1 slide. There are 2 questions on here. They're both multiple choice. Okay, so use the drawing tools to help you find your B, right? Find another good point. Do your rise over run. Select the best answer choice. Okay. Table as well, right? Find your B first. Find the change in y, find the change in x, set them up as a fraction, select the best answer choice.